This episode of the Polyhedron Collider Cast is sponsored by Kienda. Go to www.kienda.co.uk/Polyhedron Collider for a discount off your first order. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collider Cast episode 168, where we talk about everything we saw at UK Games Expo 2025. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm Andy Lewis.
I'm Sid Gill.
I'm John Cage.
And I'm Rory Summers. Wasn't that a bloody fantastic weekend, gents?
Yes.
Yes,
it was.
Excellent.
It was big.
Have we all recovered from the weekend?
Yes.
No.
I'm pretty sure I've got con-crud, which I think is the first time I've ever caught con-crud.
Oh, Stephen,
dear.
have you not been sanitising?
No.
Oh,
Did you not
that
get home
doesn't...
and douse yourself in domestos?
Too late by then.
You weren't
That's why
wearing
I'm now
protection.
Snigger.
That's why I'm now drinking a honey tea to try and ease the sore throat as I go through
wondered
this
what
podcast.
that was. You said tea, but it doesn't look like tea. It looks like your horse is sick.
Looks like he's put a sample in a mug and is testing it himself.
That's his horse. Take that to the vet and get a horse put down.
How have we got to the gutter?
Boys. Aquavitae.
Aquavitae. Wait, if you put some aquavitae in that, you might be on your way to curing your con-crud.
Off to a good start, eh, Rory?
Yes, it's great. It's great. I am worried though, because I spent most of the weekend with Steve, actually, I think.
Well, you're patient zero then, surely.
My patient zero, because I haven't got it. I feel fine at the moment.
You've got kids, so what's probably happened is you've caught something off kids, but you've got this immune level that you've built up because you've got kids, which is why like Sid and John are looking rather smug right now.
Yeah.
And he's looking quite concerned.
Rory's a carrier.
The thing is, I didn't actually interact with you lot that much this weekend, so I might have avoided it by the fact that I'd been near you.
Mm.
I was basically quarantined by choice.
Yeah. But interesting, the reason you didn't spend much time with us this weekend, Andy, is because it was so freaking big.
Yeah,
It was huge, wasn't it, this year?
Yeah.
I think I only actually saw you about 4 times all weekend.
I got some stats for you here, right? Because I went and pulled them from the Expo website, right? There were 780 exhibitors with an extra 30% space across halls 2, 3, 3A and 4 compared to last year. Right.
Which is good, because it gave us more room to manoeuvre. It wasn't quite as packed in.
Oh, it was Joyce. It was like being in Waitrose instead of Morrison's. It was amazing.
Middle class Sid, they call him.
Oh, it was so it was lovely.
It was good.
It was absolutely lovely.
Like, if you were in hall 2 and you wanted to get to hall 4, rather than just traipsing across the halls, you just went out one exit, took a shortcut around the corner.
The concourse.
It actually made navigating between like the extremities a lot better. And there wasn't that, as much as everybody's complaining, or people have commented that they couldn't get that iconic photo from the top of the stairs in halls 2. Actually, the fact that halls 2 through 4 were just one flat level, the movement and the flow of traffic was just so much better.
Oh, it was amazing. Taking that bottleneck out just made the entire flow of people through that hall fantastic.
Well, you say that. Towards the end, I bumped into Mr. Frank West, and we had a very nerdy discussion about the optimization of viewing all of the exhibits, because ultimately the show was essentially in a kind of horseshoe shape, or an omega, actually, more likely. And we kind of imagined this shape in our minds. And if you go up and down the lanes in one hall, then you get to the next hall. You're kind of halfway up the next hall. So do you go across and up or across and down? And then do you move to the next hall, or do you sort of retrace your steps and make it less efficient?
I've got an answer for you there, Andy. What it is, you have a clipboard with a plan of where you're going to go to.
That doesn't help. That doesn't help, because if you want to see everything, you need to follow an efficient path. We spent a good 10 minutes talking about that.
Which is 10 minutes you could have been walking up and down and seeing more stands.
I had spent a lot of time, although it turns out I'd spent 3.5 days walking around this expo trying to find one particular vendor. And I hadn't found them. And then I bumped into Mr. Tudor, who had found them. I said, they're over there. It's like, how did I miss this stand? It wasn't even small. It was a whacking great 10 by 10 stand.
Who was it, by the way?
Gatehouse Games.
Oh, okay.
I think this was much better this year because of the one main reason, and I always think the choke points in every expo are always the vendor stands, which are basically Travelling Man, Chaos Cards, Zatu, and
Magic
Game
Madhouse.
Yeah.
Games Law, Firestorm. Yeah, that lot. Yeah,
and some of them were really bad in the past. I seem to remember like Games Law was always on like the back edge as you walked into Hall 1. It was always on the left hand edge, and it always just caused this massive queue. But having all this space, you could basically just divert past these stands now, and not have to worry about it. I thought it was brilliant.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
But have you heard my tale about the optimization?
You've got an optimization story.
Yeah, so you know how the maps of the expo showed each hall separately?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was a huge pain in the arse, especially 3 and 3A.
Yeah, because they were in fact one open space. Well, one of the exhibitors I spoke to said that they had some software written to work out where their stand should be. And they'd based it on where it said the exits were between 3 and 3A on the maps.
Oh, so were they between both of them?
Yeah, they were between both of them. So there were no exits between 3 and 3A because it was the full size of the hall.
Yeah.
So the entire optimization runs, the simulations they'd run to work out where was the best place for this stand, didn't work because the way the expo had done the maps.
Clever.
Oh, interesting. But here's another interesting tidbit, straight from the mouth of Richard Denning, is that he reckons that Expo is 2,000 square feet bigger than Gen Con, the trade halls, which makes the UK Games Expo the second largest board game convention in terms of physical space. Sid's got his hand up.
Sir, do you mean feet or meters?
Meters, what
I
did I
wondered
say?
that. It wasn't just me. You said feet.
Did I? Right, 2,000 square meters.
That's a big difference.
That is a big
It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
That's the sort of difference that could crash a shuttle.
We'll have none of those. We'll have no freedom units here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
But it's brilliant. I'm really happy. Like 42,000 people visited this year, which is up 7% on last year, with a total attendance of 72,000 people.
So this is what gets me right. How crammed is Gen Con then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because Gen Con's attendance is like, whereas there's 42,000 people visit Expo, there's 72,000 people visited Gen Con.
And it's physically
apparently
smaller.
Yeah. It's a bit like sardines.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Can you imagine the smell?
Oh,
Yes.
trying not to.
I've just been for a run. I can imagine the smell. I'm hotboxing myself in my office right now.
I'm so glad we're separated by the internet.
Yes. Although it might not be enough.
Shall we move on and talk about some of the games and some of the awards? The awards. Now, I'm going to say a big thank you to John here, who actually made some physical awards for us to give out on the Sunday. So if you do follow us on the socials, you may know who has already won for each of these categories. But we're going to do what we did last year. We've got all our categories. And we're going to talk about the games that were shortlisted and then announce the winner.
So the purpose of these awards is not only to give people recognition, but also to structure what we're going to talk about, because otherwise it would just be us talking about random games completely, wouldn't it? Let's be fair.
And also to give us a random sense of self-worth to make us think like we're important.
We are important.
That is true.
Hang on, I value myself.
Yeah, but no one else does, mate.
Oh.
Bad news.
I do.
You see, somebody loves me.
We're basically the same person, and I do love myself, so there you go.
Let's kick things off then with the Shelf Dodger, which is basically the game which didn't make its way to the shelf from the expo, got played as soon as humanly possible. Now, last year in the previous years, we've had some serious winners where Sid actually played a game in the car park. They were that keen to get a game in. Technically, every game I purchased at the expo has dodged the shelf because they're all in a pile in the kitchen and haven't made the way upstairs yet. But that's besides the point. So what else?
I think it counts, Tudor, because mine have done exactly the same. They're on the dining room table behind me.
So what games, guys, have you played that you picked up at the expo?
I think this is a bit of a sneaky category of award because it actually almost completes the light game or family game. Because since the expo, I've played Spy Guy Fantasy with the kids, Sand Castles of Burgundy with the kids, and Under the Mango Tree with the kids. Because those have just been games that obviously come home Sunday with the children. I was like, what should we do? After a board game convention, let's probably play a board game, Dad. You know? So those are the 3 games that I got. And I have to say, Under the Mango Tree, Sid and I pulled this out on the Sunday in the family area to sit down and just play with the 4 kids. It was actually just before the awards. And we sat down, taught the 4 children how to play Under the Mango Tree from Pegasus Spiel, and they absolutely flipping loved this game. We finished it, and Logan was like, "Go buy this, Dad. Go buy it right now." And I did. I just had to. It was a fantastic kids drafting game.
It was brilliant. It was really, really clever.
Really, really clever game.
And it gave us half an hour to not have to parent them.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
That's the most valuable bit.
They got so engrossed in that game. It was amazing.
But they were playing it. This is what I loved about this game, is that 4 kids, varying in between 6 and 8, were able to sit down with a short teach from Rory, pick it up themselves, and play it autonomously for half an hour.
And all have different strategies, didn't they? They all attack the game in very different ways, and all were able to work out the optimizations and the pros and cons of doing everything.
And they were each telling the other ones how to play and keeping themselves regulated and you know, oh, you don't want, you've got too many Bs. Oh, I don't want to give Jai some Bs because that's it.
They were all hate drafting. They were brilliant. All hate drafting. It was great.
Honestly, all the key skills of being a dick were being taught by Under the Mango Tree.
Nice.
So
amazing little game.
See, I've got a possible entry here, which is complete counterpoint to what you've just said, Rory.
Yeah.
So on Monday, Amanda and I played Elder Scrolls from Chip Theory Games.
Right,
that is quite different.
Which is the biggest, heaviest, most complicated system of games you can think of. Now, I say this is possibly beating you here because we didn't actually finish the game. We started playing it and we used the Dized tutorial. I think that's pronounced D-I-Z-E-D. And which you download the tutorial and it takes you through step by step. However, we were both very tired. One rule question came up and I decided I wanted to look it up in the rule book, which led to an argument. And we haven't touched it since. So, yeah. Moving on.
Maybe that should be moved to Bankruptcy Award then, because...
the emotional investment.
It's going to lead to an expensive divorce. Is that what you said, Sid?
Merely led the horse to the water and he took a drink.
Let him piss into his mug.
Mr. Lewis, what have you played straight away?
Well, we played Rival Cities from Pegasus Spiel. So Alora found this at Pegasus. It's only a two-player game, and the idea is that one of you plays as Hamburg, the other one plays as another city that's next door that I can't remember the name of. This is a historical thing that happened. Basically, Hamburg absorbed this other town. The idea is that there's basically a deck of cards that you deal out around the board. And these cards act as the actions that you can take. So you move this little inkwell, and you can move it a certain number of spaces without paying a resource, and you'll do the action. And there's only a certain number of times you can go around the board before the game ends. And the idea is that you're supposed to own either more ships, more legal things, or more other cities. We really enjoyed it. It's got a lot of stuff going on. You've got to not only think about your own strategy, but you've got to keep an eye on what your opponent's got, because you don't want to move to a point that allows them to then move to somewhere that will get them the win, as it were. It's very, very simple. It lasts about, half an hour. It's not a long game. It's rules light but thinky, which is what we like. I also bought Terrorscape, which I'm currently learning as we record this podcast. By the time you listen to it, I'll have played it. Ooh. So I'm messing with time right now. As we record it, I haven't played it, but I've learned it. But by the time this goes out, I will have played it. And I reckon it's going to be, insert answer here. It's a 1v many game. It's a horror game. So basically there's a maniac running around a mansion, and there were 3 what we call survivors, victims, who were trying to get out of said mansion. And there's this wonderful cardboard house that basically forms a screen between the 2 sides. It's not unlike Beast, actually. So every now and again, there's a bit of information that the Beast gets. They have to show themselves. So what was it, translucent movement rather than hidden movement. So it's a bit like that. So the survivors can make noise, which then the killer will hear, and then transfer to their side of the board. So it's a bit like battleships in the sense that you don't see the other side. It's a bit like Mansions of Madness, and it's a bit like, not really Cluedo, but something along those lines. It's kind of fun, actually. It's very simple. I mean, the game should only last 45 minutes to an hour.
Does that include assembling the massive cardboard mansion that goes in the middle?
That probably takes longer than it takes to play the game, I'm not going to lie. It's very clever, to be fair. It's extremely well put together, and there's even a dice tower incorporated in the house, which is fun.
Technically, the game which I got to the table quickest was actually Console Wars. And all of us played that, bar one, which I think was Andy, you didn't play that.
Yeah, we played it with Make-A-Wish.
Make-A-Wish. So yeah, there was this ongoing joke that Ryan played it with us, and since he was the only non-PhD person there, that he'd won the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I'd like to all take this moment to remember Ryan.
Oh well, poor Ryan.
It was a special time that we got to share with him.
Yeah. What happened to Ryan?
He's busy playing crook and all, mate.
Yeah. We played it, but we didn't make the award because, number one, we're not entirely sure we played it right. For a very simple game, the rules were very badly written.
I'm fairly sure we didn't play it right.
Yeah.
We definitely didn't play it right.
So it left a bit of a foul taste in our mouth because it took about an hour longer than we were expecting, to be fair, didn't it? Yeah, we were expecting like a 10-15 minute game, and it was like an hour and 10 minutes kind of thing. So
it looked a lot like, or from what I saw you guys playing, it looked a lot like Monopoly Deal in the way it worked.
Well, we will probably revisit this in future, but at the moment, yeah. However, we picked another game to win, which me and John played when we got home. And we played a few games of this because they were quick and they were fun. So, John, tell us about the winner of the Shelf Dodger Award.
I'm hoping that was Tacta.
Yes, it was, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You weren't there for the awards, were you? So.
No, I made them, and then I dodged them. Tacta is a great little card placement game. Up to 8 players if you include the little free giveaway that they gave you at the expo. The base game comes with 6 players, and you're basically taking it in turns to play little cards and cover up other bits of the existing cards. Now, each card you place has got a number of points on it, and the number of points that you have exposed at the end of the game, whoever's got the largest number of those is going to be the winner. It sounds fairly simple, but it does get quite tactical because you're constantly trying to work out how can I place my cards so that Steve can't place any of his, and how can I make sure with every single turn when he's just put four little points just sat waiting to be covered up in a row, how can I possibly cover those up and not get my points covered up? It's a great little tactical game, really good fun, really quick to play. You can teach it in about 30 seconds, I reckon.
And this sold out at Expo as well, didn't it? So we posted our awards on the socials and had lots of people commenting that they missed out on getting this game because it had sold out on Sunday.
It sold out before the first day, basically.
Oh, really?
Because I went to, they gave us that giveaway. The next morning, I went to go and pick up a full copy, and they'd already run out.
Wow!
It's like it sold out in under 24 hours. That's pretty good going, and great little game. Really good fun.
No, it's a well-deserved winner for that award then.
Right, and the next award is for the best RPG. Now, as a non-RPG player, I'm going to abstain from this one. So, gents, duke it out.
Oh, no, that's not fair. Get yourself involved and pick something you don't have a clue about. That's what the rest of us are doing.
Orbital Blues, then.
Orbital Blues.
Right, okay. And now I'm done.
Sad Space Cowboys.
Sad Space Cowboys.
That's what it was. It's all about cowboys with troubles. And it's a really interesting little game. He's not wrong.
We mentioned it on the live podcast as well, if you want to listen back and have a bit more detail on that one.
So John and I played Old Gods of I can't pronounce this.
Appalachia.
Appalachia?
Not alopecia.
Old Gods of Appalachia, which is a cipher system game. Now, the only reason why this isn't kind of top of the list here, I think, is because really it's hard not to describe this game as a bit like Call of Cthulhu, because it's set in like the 1930s as opposed to the 1920s, and it's set in America, which you generally set most Arkham Horror style Call of Cthulhu games in. But with this is about that the Appalachian Mountains are kind of like the oldest mountain range in the world, so it's got all kinds of old weird gods sleeping within them, and it explores American folklore attached to that. We ran a very quick demo of this, John and I mean, when I say quick, we had to bail like as things were getting interesting because we had to go to another appointment we had booked. But really got our interest, didn't it, John? And I think the only thing that I think didn't make this higher on our list is the fact that it does feel, on the surface at least, very similar to Call of Cthulhu. Although, of course, a different rule set.
Yeah, the cipher system adds something a bit different. Like it has 3 words to describe your character as the kind of gist of their motivations and how they go about the world. I thought that was quite an interesting idea. I think we need to delve into the cipher system in a bit more depth to really get the hang of it. But I think it's very telling as well that by the end of that demo, I was kind of torn as to whether we went and carried on with the RPG or actually made our next appointment. I was like, ooh. I could definitely carry on with this one. It was good fun.
Well, that's quite telling.
We may be visiting that future then, if you're that intrigued by it, Mr. Cage.
Talking to the folk at Chaosium, I've had my eye on this one for at least a year, I think now it's been out, and that is the Rivers of London RPG. I'm a bit of a fan of the Ben Aranovich novels, so this is what they call the Peter Grant series, where it's set in modern day, so it's contemporary, and the idea is that magic is real. It is known about by a select few within the police force, and there's even a sort of division of the police, of the Met, dedicated to sort of controlling it, policing it, and making sure that ne'er-do-wells don't run riot with it. And the main character in the story is Peter Grant and his detective chief superintendent, Thomas Nightingale, who is quite an enigmatic and definitely my favourite character in novels.
I can understand that. I've read the first book.
It's really good.
Nightingale is the best character.
He absolutely is. He gets better if you keep going. He just gets more and more sarcastic more than anything else. But this is the RPG based on that. I think it's a similar system to the Call of Cthulhu system. It's a D100 system, but they've chucked in a D6 in there for some reason. To be determined. I haven't played a full game of this yet. I've just started reading the book, but I am very interested in the world. So if you are a fan of the Ben Aranovich novels, there is a new one coming out this year, I'm led to believe. Definitely worth checking out if you like that universe.
Sounds intriguing.
So, Mr. Gill, then, why don't you explain yet again why you picked this game for winner of this category?
Because I thought I was in a fever dream, Stephen. And I was enjoying myself in that happy place. And so this game made me so excited when I found out about it before Expo. And I kept the lid on it for quite a few days before I told you. And it was only on, was it Friday morning, I dragged Rory round the halls like an excited schoolgirl to go and see if it was real. Because I didn't believe what I was reading. Okay? And the winner of this category for Best RPG is Sentai and Sensibility. I'll just let that soak in for a minute. Okay? This is exactly what it says on the can. This is Bridgerton meets Kaiju. Right?
I can't believe I'm not in a fever dream right now.
It does sound like so much fun.
Are we sure someone's not pulling our leg here? Are you sure this isn't made up?
So this is 9th level games, right? Have brought out this little A5. It's not a big book, which is the other thing I love about it. Really quick to get into. They've got their own system, the polymorph system, which itself sounds really interesting. Different characters have different sizes of dice, which means certain characters, D4, D6, D8, D10, etc. And depending on your character, you will have access. You'll either be a generalist and roll a large die, which means you can land anywhere in that, or you can specialize by having specific parts of the skill table. There's an entire skill on etiquette, which just sounds bonkers. I mean, rolling for etiquette in the middle of a tea party, because that is what this game does, and it does it well. It lets you have a tea party, which then means halfway through you've got to put your henshin on and then fight a kaiju. I mean, who is not excited about fighting a kaiju as a British Regency? Come on, boys. It's magnificent, and they deserve this award 100%.
It will definitely get played. I'm kind of curious. I want to hate it, but I've got a nasty feeling it's going to be fun.
Why would you want to? What's wrong? Can we get rid of him?
It's just so... They're two different things, right? They're two completely different subjects. Like, how do they work together? I can't see it.
We've got to find out.
So let's play it.
Find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we bought it for a friend of ours who's sort of mad on Japan, who actually took us to Japan last year when I went. So we bought a copy for there. So they'll be playing it if I don't. So I shall report back on their findings as well.
Another game that sold out as well. It was sold out by Sunday morning, wasn't it? Yeah,
it absolutely was. And I think we can take a little bit of credit for that, because I know at least half a dozen or so people that have told me directly, following our live podcast where we discussed this last, that they went and specifically went out to find it.
Right. One of the comments on the YouTube feed of our live podcast was, "Bugger, it's sold out in the UK. I've just had to order it for the United States."
Nice.
Wonderful.
Speaking of selling out, our next award goes for the Instabuy. Basically, the game you were not going to leave the expo without, and maybe you made a beeline for the stand to buy it straight away. Now, I've got two nominees here in my head.
I've got two.
We mentioned in the preview episode Fighting Fantasy from Wallace Games, which, let's be fair, we're all of an age where Fighting Fantasy was like seminal in our childhood and introduction into fantasy, so a modern interpretation of that is always going to be good. But I also believe that I'd mentally bought Elder Scrolls before I went to the expo, and just took me 2 to 3 days to convince myself to part with the cash.
Yes.
So I put that in as well.
Nice. There's a few of us that did the Fighting Fantasy. In fact, 3 of us. Although I did it after the fact.
You did. You gave
Just
Mr. Wallace
to prove
the award.
The point. I did. Gave him his award. So that's our game of the Instaback. The Instabuy award. But yes, made the point of buying it as I gave him the award, because Steve's right. This is part of our childhood. I remember going through most of the FF books as a kid. So this was something I couldn't really pass by. On top of that, I did make a beeline for Paverson Games at 9:00 on Friday morning, and walked away with a copy of the deluxe edition of Luthier. Obviously, well, I knew they only had 20 copies, so I thought, I'm probably going to buy it, so there's no point in doing a Steve and waiting 2 days. I'll just buy it now and have done with it.
Well, if you didn't get it now, then you were going to have to wait until, was it mid-July for the actual release of it? So, I think you made the right choice.
I think so.
I made a beeline as soon as I discovered they were there to Pegasus Spiel, because I've had my eye on Stupor Mundi, designed by Nestore Mangon, who did Timeless Journeys, Co-Design, Shackleton Base, and Newton, all games that I've loved. I was really keen to see this, and it's been out for a while, but it's only just come out in English. So I'm very glad to finally own a copy of that. I just need to find some time to play it. But yeah, that and Fighting Fantasy were a must for me.
Oh,
very nice.
So if you haven't worked it out already, the award went to Fighting Fantasy, because 3 of us bought that game.
Yeah.
And most of us bought it basically on the first day.
Yeah.
What's next, boys and girls? Is it something new and shiny?
They're always new and shiny. I mean, I've just spent quite a lot of money on shiny Luthier. Although I'm kind of annoyed I didn't buy all of the extra bling as well, but that would have doubled the price of the game. So we have to look at something else for our best bling award.
Yes. Now the idea behind this is it's meant to be something that you buy to enhance your gaming experience, and not necessarily a board game or a board game that has blingy components. It is something to enhance your overall tabletop gaming experience. So for this, I think for me, it was always going to be the Playmarkers from AK Interactive, which essentially felt tips pens that you use to colour in your models. It's the best way to describe them.
So like your basic grey models.
Your basic grey models, you don't need to prime them.
Painting your miniatures, you didn't need. Basically, they are a pen you use to paint your miniatures. So rather than getting a pot of paint, dipping your paintbrush in it and put it on your model, it is a pen with a brush tip, which is like a little EpiPen valve like puncher at the end, which loads the brush with paint.
Oh, that's
and you
clever.
can paint directly onto unprimed plastic. The paint adheres to it, and it is just like taking I suppose, like a Sharpie. Imagine a bristly Sharpie, and colouring in your model as opposed to kind of painting it with paints and brush and pots and stuff like that. They were, and Sid and Steve both had a go at this, and it looked like it flowed. No pun intended.
They were lovely.
It just did, didn't it?
A ham-fisted moron that can't hold a paintbrush like me felt comfortable with it. It was a natural feeling thing to hold because it was a bit fatter than a paintbrush, and it felt like I could actually do something.
What are you waving in front of the screen, Andy?
I'm waving a paint pen thing.
That is a paint pen that you fill with paint yourself.
Yes. Are these
so this
pre-filled?
was these were pre-filled,
Right.
so you bought a set of paints already.
Yeah.
And I will say I kind of poked at them quite a bit. So I picked up, of course, the white, the yellow, and the coverage on the yellow for a pen straight onto grey plastic, without any primer, was rather extraordinary. And not only that, I could wet blend them on the model with the pens.
Yeah.
That's quite impressive.
Hello.
They're very, very cool. And you buy them like you would buy a set of felt tip pens.
Yeah.
They come in a pack. So, and they're not out yet? They're coming out very soon, if I recall.
I believe they're out soon.
They're out
I think
soon.
the Kickstarter was out a couple of months ago. So yes, they are. I was well impressed with these. However, much as we were all massively impressed with these things, we were all even more impressed with something Mr. Cage purchased.
Aha! He says, holding up a shiny thing in his hands.
Now, to describe this to those that don't know, it looks like the little puzzle box from Hellraiser. But is
Or
in
the
fact,
Soul Cube from Doom 3.
Yeah.
but is in fact every single dice in one cube.
Yep. So it's like
as a spinner.
Yeah, 6-sided device. Every single surface has got one dice on it. So you've got your D20, your D6, all the ones that you would need. And it doubles as a fidget spinner. This thing is weighty. I mean, like, if you threw this at someone, you could probably kill them. But it's good and solid. It feels really well made, and it is so satisfying to spin. I did take it into work. I've had to take it back from work because it was interrupting interrupting my productivity. But yeah, it's just a thing of beauty. It's from Tabletop Dominion. They've got various colours. They sold out of most of them by the time I actually picked this up a day after I saw it. Yeah, they are just incredible.
It was very cool. Remember you putting that down on the table, and everybody froze and jaws dropped as we saw it. It was very impressive.
Yeah, when I showed people in the office, they were like, I don't even play RPGs or anything, but I may have to order one of those.
Yes. I went back to the stand after we'd given them this award and I couldn't find it. I think they'd completely sold out, which is kind of annoying. And I've even looked at their website and I cannot find it on their website either. So I think this might have been Expo exclusive or new, and they're just selling what they have. So it might be available later. I don't know.
They also had the little revolver kind of dice, which looked like the gun chamber for a revolver, and each bullet was a dice, like a cylindrical dice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Which was also pretty nice. Well, you mentioned, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Cage, about thinking of purchasing this. Since we handed over the award, Tabletop Dominion have actually got in touch with us.
Oh.
And are offering a discount to Polyhedron Collider listeners.
Oh, really?
Very good of them.
Yes, so if you go to tabletopdominion.com/pages/polyhedron-collider, I'll put the link in the show notes, you will get 10% off your order.
There you go.
Wow.
Nice.
There is literally no reason not to buy one now.
I count as a listener, don't I? So I can go get my 10%.
No, you're an employee, you're disqualified.
I'm not entitled to the benefits.
There's tax implications if you get it.
Or like it comes under the bribery and corruption.
It'll be a bic, mate. You'll have to do a full form and everything. Don't do it.
Or I've got to do a form. That's even better, mate. It's double win.
You're selling this to him, not discouraging him.
I'll sometimes forget I'm talking to a weirdo.
Shall we move on to the Bankruptcy Award? So this is...
Oh, you've missed a smooth flow link there.
Did I?
Well, yeah, if you don't fill in your tax returns on time, you're going to be bankrupt. And speaking of bankruptcy, let's have a look at the Kickstarters that excited us. I mean, Andy's shaking his head. It's fantastic. I know I've got a good link when Andy has closed his eyes and shaking his head.
That was about as smooth as a controlled demolition, Mr. Tudor.
It was better than mine, Andy. It was better than mine.
I quite liked it.
Yeah.
This award has been titled The Game Most Likely to Bankrupt Us, which caused a discussion when we were trying to decide who the winners are, because that was not the purpose, that's a jokey title. It caused the fight, yes. That's the second fight I had that weekend.
Let's call it what it was. Let's call a spade, right? There was a fight.
Fisticuffs.
In the car park.
With knives.
Anyway, the purpose of this game is basically what's the best game we saw at Expo that's coming to Kickstarter. And I must admit, for once, there's not many nominations here.
No, we really struggled for this. I think there's only about 3 or 4 that we could find in the entire thing. I've known about this one because I backed it literally during the show, actually. I'd known about it beforehand, but I hadn't actually pulled the trigger until I spoke to Cerberus Studios, who make Celestial Affinity, and they've got ongoing, as we record now, a Kickstarter for the next sort of release of miniatures for the Celestial Affinity game. And yeah, they're a bit nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's not cheap either. So definite bankruptcy, and there may be future news regarding this particular vendor. So watch this space.
I've got one other slight one, which I did mention in the live podcast, which is Cubyria, Architects of a Lost City. I did go find their stand after we'd done the live expo and had another little look at this, but didn't get a chance to play it. So this is the one I described as being like Santorini on crack. It's basically little white buildings that get stuck on top of each other to form a 3D sculpture, but there's all kinds of rule restrictions about how you can build things, like balconies have to show out into open, doors have to match, windows have to match. There's also secret doors you can add in, so secret doors can go to a wall. Absolutely beautiful. And then we called this the Bankruptcy Award, but they're planning on keeping the cost low for this. They seem to think they should be able to hit that $40 to $50 mark.
Really?
With what they're intending. I think if they can do this, this is going to do gangbusters. If you can get that kind of price point. I mean, as I did mention in the live episode, I think what they're trying to do with the injection mouldings is perhaps ambitious, but if they can pull that off, this could be a really big game because it is visually impressive. And I have got a video which I need to give to Rory so we can put on the socials because it does look visually stunning. It really does.
Is that $50 pre-tariffs, though?
Yeah, we're not talking about tariffs, John. Otherwise, that would be $120. We're ignoring tariffs because I did speak to a couple of things and mentioned tariffs, and they all kind of went, yes, we're all hoping they go away. Yes, a lot of these prices for most things are providing we can find a way around the tariffs or they end.
And this is pre-shipping, so they could just charge 80 quid for shipping and make the money back that way. It'd be fine.
Possibly, yes. But yeah, I very ambitious, but I'm looking forward to seeing what this comes out.
It sounds good. Is this going to be 4-player then, Steve? Because obviously Santorini's only a 2-player.
Yes,
okay.
it's a multi. Yeah,
that's cool.
2 to 5 players, it says on the
right
page.
Up my alley.
So,
as I understand it, it's actually it has a draft mechanic, doesn't it? You have your cards, and you're drafting your cards, and you pick the card that you're going to play, and that's what you have to build from your angle, and you can piggyback on whatever else is there to increase your score. Rotating the board on its Lazy Susan, it did look really, really cool. I went out and had a chat with them as well, so very good. But the winner of this award was a game that we managed to sit down and play, most of us, 3 of us.
And I was watching.
3 and John watching.
That is most.
Is Kalypso from Inside Up Games. Now, we were very fortunate. We were the first people to play this outside of the Inside Up team. It's coming to Kickstarter later this year. And this is essentially Waterworld, the game, the tile-laying game. The world has been covered in water, and you're having to build floating cities using these T-tiles, which you'll draft from the vortexes it was just really neat. You need to put these T-tiles together, matching at least 3 colours, and that would allow you to build a type of building, and the green buildings did this, and the white buildings did that, and you just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And it was a really interesting, it had some great player interaction with the weather cards that you pass to each other to give you goals, but also kind of some penalising points if you didn't achieve those goals. And then on the reverse of it, Connor showed us the great, what really looked like a really interesting solo and co-op version of the game as well, which sounded great. And of course, one of my all-time favourite bits of the expo was Pussy Corners.
TM. That's TM.
That's TM. So apparently in Canada, where you've got 2 tiles that are kind of diagonally touching, but they're not orthogonally, like they don't share an edge, in Canada, or in some parts of Canada, it's called kitty corner. Right? And in America, it's called catty corner. So Connor was like, he said, kitty, you can't kitty corner them. And we're like, what the hell's kitty corner? He goes, oh, maybe you call it catty corner. I was like, well, I ain't got a clue what you're talking about, Connor. And then he explained it to us. He goes, you could have got away with anything. You could have just told me it was called Pussy Corner, and I would have been using that for years to come. But it stuck. So
we missed a trick there.
We missed the trick. But he did it for us, to be honest. So.
Oh, well, yeah.
Inside Up, Kalypso, absolutely brilliant game. We really, really enjoyed that. We had a lot of fun playing it. Coming to Kickstarter later this year.
Can't wait.
I've just realised, because of the way we've done our awards, there's a major game we played that hasn't made this list. And all of us that played it really enjoyed it and basically said we're going to buy it when it comes out, but it's not coming to Kickstarter.
I know it's not.
And I've just looked down the list and it's not here.
It is. It's on the.
Is it?
It's under Instabuy.
Which we've missed.
We haven't talked about it.
Because you can't buy it yet. That's why.
Because you can't buy it.
It doesn't
can't
qualify.
buy it. So that's why I disqualified myself from talking about it.
Is this the one that involved some carriers of milk?
Well, this is another one where our very subtle double entendre led to the person demoing it
losing his shit.
Yeah,
I had to stop and cry for a minute.
I mean, it broke us. It broke him.
Yep.
It was genius.
But we should fess up to what this is. Now we've spent some time talking about it. So this is Miskatonic Tales from Chaosium, and it would have won Instabuy Award, but short of me beating Kubar up and nicking it, I wouldn't have been able to get it because it's not coming out for another.
And you can't give it the Bankruptcy Award because it's not crowdfunded.
I can't go to Kickstarter. Yeah.
No.
So it unfortunately took itself out of the awards.
Oh, okay.
But this was really good. I mean, we described it when we talked about it in the beginning of the year preview as Tainted Grail mixed with Arkham Horror. And it's exactly what it was.
Yep. Yes.
It was a story-led adventure where you lay down tiles and move into rooms and investigate. But it had a really interesting, I think, energy mechanic, I'd call it, which is you had a number of cards in your hand which could be spent to take actions or add points to skill tests. And do you know what? The more I think about this, the more I absolutely loved it. I know, Andy, you've played the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth.
Yes.
And one of the things that's really frustrating about that game is when you do a skill test and you don't know what result you actually need to get past it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you just roll some dice and you go, oh, I've got a 2, and then you get a shit result. And you're like, oh, right, so I needed a 3. If I'd known I needed a 3, I would have done a bit more. What this game did is did this really cool collaborative thing where you could spend cards and you could all put cards into a test to give like a guaranteed success to meet the number of successes you need. But then you could add cards in which were their secondary value, which allowed you to roll a dice. And there's a really cool dice pool mechanic. I really love this. It made doing these tests an interesting blend of, do we just spunk all the cards to try and get past the test straight away, or do we just put 1 or 2 in and let fate decide by rolling the dice?
Or do we let Sid push his luck like he always does and ruin it for everyone?
Sometimes you've got to see what's behind the door, Andy. It could be
Sometimes
cake,
you don't.
It could be beer. It could be a horrible, ugly monster. But if you don't open it, you don't know.
In a Lovecraftian game, guess which one it was, ladies and gentlemen.
You could try and find out first before you kick the door down. You could at least no, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, no, let him go. He's probably been turned already, driven mad, and he's now floating through space.
Could you guys say that you are, in fact, itching to play this again?
Yes.
Now there's a transition, my man.
Oh, okay. Rory now wins segue of this.
That is segue. That is the segue award for this year's.
Because he's got previous.
Well, it blows my suggestion of the bum butter I was going to put on the table for old Rory's loins. It's a genuine thing. It's a genuine thing.
It is.
Natural anti-chafing cream. Original happy bottom bum butter.
Can we please just never talk about this again?
Should we just focus on which game we're itching to play again?
Yes, right.
Miskatonic Tales from Chaosium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a proper game of that and then explore that adventure much deeper. I mean, it's still in development. You could tell everything we saw was very much prototype level. The artwork had been kind of cobbled together to make a demo. So there's still a lot of work to do on it. But yeah, I can't wait to play that again.
I tell you what, Chaosium are 2 years for 2 years now of putting out a game which is going to be absolutely flipping amazing. It was Horror on the Orient Express last year.
They better actually produce them.
Miskatonic this year.
That's not even out yet. Technically, that's 2 games this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Oh, that's a double Christmas.
And if you can late pledge the Arkham Express one, I don't know if you can or not,
then that
definitely would probably qualify for bankruptcy because it ain't cheap.
Yeah, that's kicking 300 beans at the moment.
It is, yeah. But it's totally worth it. It was brilliant.
But another game I'd like to throw into, I know I'm going to get shot down on this one, but the Star Wars Battle of Hoth, I thought was an absolutely brilliant game. I really enjoyed it. And I'm itching to... I actually went to my local game store today to find out when it's coming in and when I can get my hands on it and stuff like that. Turns out it's being released because it's part of their Hobby Next scheme that Asmodee do, which is a great system, actually. If you go and buy this from a actual brick and mortar store in the first few weeks and months of release, you'll actually get some extra bling for it. You'll get some plastic, some
plastic shield generators.
Plastic shield generators and orbital cannons for the Imperials. You get those if you buy it from a brick and mortar store. And I found out it comes into retail on the 29th of August, my daughter's birthday. So now I have to nip off while the cake's cooling to go and buy Battle for Hoth because I really enjoyed it. And I'm not a big Star Wars fan. But having played Memoir 44 a little while ago and now played this, it was throwing you right into the action with some really dynamic card actions and swingy gameplay, really cinematic, really dramatic, with a branching scenario campaigns as well. So the outcome of Battle 1 changes either the setup or the win condition for Scenario 2 and so on and so forth. And then you get almost like legacy aspects of you get cards added into your deck, which are one shot. So once you use them in your campaign, that's it. You then get rid of it, and it's in the box until you finished it.
That's a really cool way to add replayability to a game.
Definitely. Yeah, that's nice.
But what I want to know, and I feel like this is the important question for this category, Mr. Tudor, as a man who has a lot of excitement for both franchises, which one will you pick?
Oh,
Battle of Hoth or Miskatonic Tales?
Oh, because we didn't actually give out this award.
No, I don't think any of us should have input. I think you, as the governor.
Oh, you bastard!
I know it's quite satisfying to see you squirm right now. I'm so sorry.
Well, I will put it into a little bit of context because Sunday night I watched Empire Strikes Back. So, oh god, that is a difficult one because the weird thing about this Battle for Hoth is it is Memoir 44, so it is feels like a little bit of a remix of another game.
But how cool was it for our opponents trying to take down the 8080s? Because you say it's Memoir 44, but they've changed quite a bit.
I mean,
and it's only 50 beans.
The highlight of gameplay for Miskatonic Tales was Sid knocking a door down where we all told him not to.
Yep.
However, the highlight of gameplay of Battle for Hoth was these T-47s trying to take us down, and we just stomped past them and blew the generator. So, yeah, I'm sorry to say, I think at this point it may be Battle of Hoth for me. But it's a close one. You're right, Sid. That's tight.
That's a tight one, isn't it? That's tight.
Yeah. We should probably mention, we actually played 4 different games of Asmodee, and stop me if I'm not allowed to talk about this. We also played a game called Inkwell.
Ink.
Rory.
Yes.
We can talk about that one, can't
And we can. We can talk about everything we played.
It's not on our excitement list for me and Rory. We played it, we went, yeah, we'll play it again. However, we both looked at this game and went, when this comes out, it's going to do gangbusters. It fits nicely into that Azul style of abstract game. It looks very pretty. It's going to come from Asmodee, so it's going to be available absolutely everywhere. And it's a really simple kind of rondel drafting.
Yeah. Nice bloke.
Which you pick up tiles and you put these tiles in front of you to make a pattern, and then when you've made enough pieces of the pattern, because you get numbers on it, so if you get like 3 blue spaces next to each other, you can move inkwells from your little area onto your little tile, and the idea is to clear all your inkwells from in front of you. Me and Rory felt it was good. Didn't set our pants on fire, but I can't deny I would definitely play it again without question. I just feel that the combination of the little acrylic inkwells and the simple abstract nature means that when this gets released, I think it's going to be huge.
It has great table presence. I think it's going to be an Instagram darling. And although it didn't set my pants on fire, I've been thinking about
things. They were already on fire.
Oh.
He walked into that one, didn't he?
I really did. I almost feels like you guys were waiting for me to say that as well.
We got a bingo card here, mate.
Although
house,
I have actually been thinking about Ink quite a lot since I played it. It's the type of game it really got under my skin, actually, of going, it was a really thoughtful game. And it's one that I would like to play more of. And I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't pick up a copy. Because I think it'd be very easy to play, very easy to get out on the table, and very engaging. Like we started, the 4 of us, giving it all the jibber jabber lip to one another. But as we're slowly building this map out of tiles, it got quieter and quieter and more focused and more. I almost got my wrist slapped for calling Steve so many names. Because it was a really fun game. Different to what we're used to, but I really liked it.
That sounds quite similar to my experience with Altay, which I found at Ares Games, which I was told by quite a few of them, by Ed and Craig and stuff, that I'd quite like. And it turns out they were right. Now, Altay's a very quick, light deck building area control game where you get your hand of cards, 5 cards, and you use them or lose them. So you play all 5 in your turn, do the things, next player. It's really quick, really straightforward, really simple. But there's something about it that was really quite compelling, because there's quite a lot of options and what you can buy and how you can do it and how you can invest in technology, which gives you ongoing benefits. But I think the lightness of it, just like you were saying about Ink, Rory, it makes it really accessible. You know, it's a 5-minute teach. Here's your hand of cards. Do what it says on the cards. Get your resources. Spend your resources. Buy a new card. Next player. Literally that simple. So you could get it to the table and play it. And I didn't pick up a copy.
You didn't.
I'm kind of pissed off. No.
I was about to ask you whether we could play that at the weekend, but no.
No, I could order it, but I don't have it currently.
No, that's fair enough. That did sound interesting.
Yeah, it was really good.
Right. So now, before we get on to the big reveal, which is the game of the con, let's talk about the miniature, the best miniature, or the miniature we are scared to paint. But before we do that, should we talk about the Sir Coates Painting Masters?
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Because we are among greatness.
We are among greatness. So Steve and I, as if you've watched the YouTube video, both entered miniatures into this. And then Andy did as well, but he didn't do the videos. One of us...
Last-minute decision.
Very last-minute decision. And one of us was a finalist in their category.
Look at him, looking all smug there.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
He's earned it. He's earned it.
I was going to give a round of applause, Steve. You did a sterling job with that miniature. A sterling job. And it was recognised. It was recognised by Dunk the Hunk and guest judges.
Did you try and butter them up, Rory?
That's fine.
Increase your chances.
I tried to do that. I tried to do that. We were speaking to Sam from Two Think Coats, and I didn't realise he was a judge when we were chatting to him. I mean, I'd already wound him up. Well, no, I didn't, because I'd actually wound him up by mentioning the John Blanche paint set, which kind of triggered him.
That was mean. That's why you didn't win.
That's why I didn't place, wasn't it? That's why, yeah. I mean, that was an interesting conversation in itself. It shows product development takes a long time. And the Two Thin Coats guys have been working on their grimdark paints for absolute ages, and then Army Painter bring out more or less exactly the same paint set.
Screwing.
2 months earlier, and it's just But I did say, do I need to write a number on a piece of paper and slide it across the table to him?
Here is an envelope with maybe some money in it.
As he was saying that, he was writing on the back of a business card and handing it over the table.
So yes, didn't place, but the competition was tough.
It was.
I mean, I looked at some of those paintings and just went, there's some serious. I did notice actually the guys from Siege Studios won a couple of the awards.
Did they?
So they placed on a couple of them. So Siege Studios is a painting service. They've got their own painting podcasts. Really top quality painters. So not surprising didn't place, really. Some really top work there.
But I was really impressed with how many entries there were.
Yeah,
it was a lot. Considering this was the first time this competition's been held at the expo, a lot of fantastic models were painted. Really, really great turnout.
I think that's going to explode next year.
I think next year,
yeah.
We need to start practicing them.
Well, that leads us quite nicely on. So, minis I'm too scared to paint. I went over to Mammoth Factory and I picked up the 7 Stoutmasters. So part of their Fateless range, they're going back through the kind of the Disney movies and fairy tales and doing some grimdark models. So I've got the 7 dwarves from Snow White.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a look at Mammoth, and they're really nice miniatures.
Really nice models. I think these have got an awful lot of character to them. And I'm going to try, and this is going to be, assuming it's going to be similar categories for next year, this is going to be a squad. This is going to be a squad. I'm going to paint them up in the style of the Walt Disney 7 Dwarfs on that colour scheme and just have a bit of fun with it.
When you're doing that, Rory, will you do me a favour?
Yeah.
Will you play Rammstein in the background?
You want to
because they've got, if you've never seen Rammstein's Son, the video for Son,
right,
it is a grim dark 7 Dwarfs twist with Snow White in it.
Nice.
Right.
Should you not play Windrose as well?
And you could. Oh no, this is proper dark. I mean, it's Rammstein, right? So it's got a bit of a darkness to it. I just think it would be a really good inspiration for you to paint.
You want me to just have that on loop for like the 120 hours of me painting these 7 models?
No, because then we'll have to grey you out and play the sad music because you will have killed yourself. And that's not what I want. I just want you to watch it and get some very bizarre inspiration from it.
I'll do that, mate. I'll do that. Thank you.
Well, why do you put together the painting video? Why don't we put it to that song? There we go.
Because I won't get the licensing for it and we'll have to pay. We'll get demonetized and striked and all that kind of YouTube nonsense.
Rubbish.
Cease and desist, Tudor.
Yes. Won't be the first time.
We'll get one of us to sing it badly.
So what other minis really caught your eyes? Because there were a lot of great minis at the show this year.
There were a lot, actually. A lot of good ones.
Unfortunately, the one that I was really intrigued by, I looked at Mammoth. I didn't make a note of who they were. They were near the entrance between like Hall 3A and 4, and I need to go back to the notes and have a look who they were and find their website, because they were quite large minis, but they were pretty cool.
Oh, those things, yes, they looked amazing. There was like a big worm with the fangs and stuff on it. Yes, I know which one you mean, Steve. Yeah, they were really impressive. Intimidating, but impressive.
If we're talking about overall size, can I mention one little one?
I beg your pardon.
Snigger.
There's a group of guys from Scotland, as it happens, called the Future Case, who did the Future Case from Trident. And they've got these they're miniature painting cases. So they're little metal shelves in 3D printed cases, so you can transport your minis. But the thing that they had on their stand was, and I reckon it was about 3 foot tall, a full, what are they called, epic scale Titan.
Yeah.
But done to Warhammer 40k sizes. So this thing was like enormous, and they 3D printed the whole thing in pieces, put it together, stuck it all together as like metal rods inside it. They were like, yeah, don't touch it too much because it's broken 3 times already. I was like, wow. But this thing was bonkers. I'll show you guys a picture. I'll put it in the feed later. It was mad. Really impressive. And the cases look quite good as well, if you want to move your miniatures around and
that's it.
them.
I'm going to have to bring in at least 7 dwarves to next year's competition, aren't I? Whereas I transported the guys when I handed my orc in for the painting competition. They were really impressed that I put it in a jam jar transporter. It worked.
Cunning.
Ice cream tub and a bunch of tissues, fine.
So I was really impressed by the new, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, Sienan from Warcrow from Corvus Belli, which are basically elves. So basically wood elves in the Warcrow universe. And what makes these unbelievably cool was they all had cloaks, and the cloaks are made of leaves.
Nice.
And the leaves are individually moulded on the cloaks.
Do you have to glue them on?
The level of detail. No, but they're all carved in, moulded in.
Mm-hmm. But they're individually expressed in the detail of the model.
Yeah,
that's cool.
The level of detail was insane.
It is.
Holy shit balls!
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All the cloaks and dresses, and you could look at these miniatures and you could see the level of detail. I mean, just the pure detail on these things was extraordinary.
Yep. We both got a copy of the exclusive miniature for Warcrow, and I put it together, and I'm looking at her now, literally holding her now, and you can see, it looks, even the detail on her kneecaps is ridiculous. There's a cloak of, a dual layer cloak of leaves. The scythe that she's holding has got twists on the handles as well. The detail on her kneecaps is insane. I don't know how they've managed to cram so much detail into such a tiny model, because it's only a 28mm scale model as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Those models are so irritatingly small in my fat fingers.
So, you guys are talking is this the winner? Or is there something better?
We played another game and we made a bit of executive decision on the day because there was a lot of competition for this. I mean, we're all drooling over lots of miniatures. I mean, you mentioned Celestial Affinity earlier because that was really nice as well.
The Demon Aramon, that's 140mm model, so it's huge. Yeah,
they're quite a larger scale, aren't they?
Yes.
But we were a bit more enamoured as a game-wise as well with Malediction. So Malediction is from Loot Studios. Now, Loot Studios are a company that do a subscription 3D model service. So basically what you do is you subscribe to them, and every month you get a bunch of new models. And they've aimed themselves in the past squarely at D&D players. So, when you subscribe, you get the 3D model for an entire tavern. And when I say an entire tavern, it's a 28mm scale tavern with many rooms, cellars, all that kind of thing, which you can print. But it's loads of miniatures, monsters, basically minis you can print at home for your game. But they've made their own skirmish war game. And I say skirmish war game because the key mechanic in this is practically CCG card game as well. So you have a hand of cards.
Sounds like an odd mix, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it worked, John.
Oh, yeah, I'm not denying that.
It really did. You had your hand of cards, you had your main unit, which is like your leader, which was set. And then after that, I think you had a couple of others you could bring into the game right from the start. After that, you had to pay your mana, it wasn't mana, it was something else, to either play instant effect cards, like spells in Magic, or to equip extra stuff to your units, or bring more units onto the battlefield. And then after that, it was, I wouldn't say pretty standard, but tape measure miniatures game. Your unit can move X inches. You're going to attack. They do so. But the other cool thing about this was, and which kept this moving, I found this really interesting, is everyone had a large pool of hit points. And even if you missed the attack, you still did damage, which meant you were constantly chipping away at people. And there's this really cool idea as well, as the victory points for the game were based on securing the objectives or killing people. So it was up to you which one you wanted to go for.
Kill people.
Just whack him.
Because you can get the objective when everyone's dead.
Well, there was a time limit involved, and so you had a couple of options here. Quite a tight little game, I found. Maybe a bit swingy because of the cards, but they just made it fun in the same way we talked about Battle of Hoth earlier. You play this card, it felt awesome when you were playing it, your opponent didn't think so.
It was swingy, but it did swing in both directions.
I was chatting to one of the designers while you guys were playing, and he said that the artifacts, that once you got the artifacts, these were meant to be, according to the lore, these are remnants from the gods. So when you picked up one of these artifacts, you got a new card that gave you a really big superpower that swung the game even more. But he said that was the point of the game. It was meant to be dramatic and almost narrative, with as you get powerful, you get more powerful, and that's supposed to drive your opponents to do the same and then steal them off you.
Yeah. Closest I could think of to what I've played is Warcry. if you played the Age of Sigmar game, but this felt even quicker and much more in it straight away compared to Warcry. We really liked the miniatures. You could either get the STLs and print them yourself if you've got a suitable 3D printer, or they actually did sell the miniatures there, and some of them were absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I was enamoured by the Thunderstomps or whatever his name is, which was the leader of one of the factions. There was also there was like a Knight faction, there was an Angelic faction, there was this little like Plague and Rot faction. So that was my choice. Well, as our choice, we awarded them the award for best miniature because they were absolutely beautiful.
It does make me tempted to get a resin printer, I'll be honest. I've got this FDM printer over here, but they're not quite so good for minis.
All right then, gentlemen, it's time to move on. We're nearing the end of the episode, so let's talk about the Polyhedron Collider Definitely Not Shit Award.
The apex of all awards ever given out.
I'm going to have to go and put my gold dress on for this one.
Please don't.
Top of the poop emoji, if you will. The summit.
Is there any competition with this award? Did we have any discussion, or did we just pick this unanimously straight away?
It was pretty much unanimous, wasn't it?
It was a clean sweep on this one.
Yeah. So 4 of us got into a demo of Revenant on the Mindclash stand. We only played 1 round, but it was enough for us to go, yep, we're happy, we are sated. Me and Andy are glad we have backed this game.
Yes, we are.
Sid got up going, I'm glad those 2 idiots backed this because it's so expensive that I want to play it with somebody else.
The actual gameplay, the version Steve's backed, that's not that expensive at all. Dipshit Lewis, he's bought the expensive one.
And I like that. Sorry, I'm just going to make a Dipshit Lewis for the new business cards.
Yep, that's it. Andy Dipshit Lewis.
You say that, Andy, but those dual layer player boards might have to go on as an extra.
I think they do. They make a big difference. I think
need to be.
They make a huge difference.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge heavy Euro type game player, but I've got to say I was really taken by this game. So much so that even though I know that you guys have backed this, I'm still kind of tempted to back it myself. Do it. Because then I could play it with the guys at work. And don't get me wrong, it's going to take us like several weeks because we just play for like 45 minutes.
It'll take you 1 lunch break just to teach the rules.
Yeah, probably. No, more than that because it'll be me teaching it, not you guys. I have to remember how they all work. And I was struggling in that demo. Last thing on the Saturday, when we've had 2 days of Expo, it turns out that is a tricky time to teach us a game. Poor guy who's demoing it to us was like, are you guys okay? Am I pitching this at the right level? We're all like yawning away like idiots.
Really heavily.
It's like, no, we're not bored. We're desperately trying to remember all this stuff.
I mean, it was good, though.
It was.
It was really good.
It's a really clever game.
To give an explanation of what it is, Roy, because you didn't play this or
I did not, no.
at all. So we described this as looking like Battlestar Galactica when we talked about it. And it's not far off. It's worker placement Battlestar Galactica.
It is, pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
So you have a fleet of ships which are trying to escape the Void, which is the baddies in Voidfall.
Cylons.
Not Cylons.
Not Cylons. Sorry.
Not Cylons.
Not Cylons.
Non-IP
infringing Cylons.
So you have a main ship in the centre. We won't call it a Battlestar, but think about that.
We'll call it the Revenant.
And then you have
we'll call it a Revenant.
Yeah, there we go.
The Revenant, yes. And then around it you have various types of ships, which is the fleet which is following you, which are being attacked by the Void for, I can't remember what they're called, actually, the proper name for them. So it's a worker placement game. So what you're actually not trying to do, you're not trying to save the fleet.
Corrupted, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, what you're actually trying to do is gain favour with certain factions within the fleet, so that your favoured faction comes out on top.
That's it, the different houses.
So you can do this by taking actions on particular ships. So ships give you different actions to do, but also raises your influence. You're also given secret influence cards throughout the game, and you'll get more of these cards as you play, which show how much influence you've got in various factions. But the really clever thing was your score at the end of the game was your rank in this faction, so a little track, times by the number of ships that were remaining of that faction. So you had to, if you were like wanted to get lots of points in a particular faction, you had to make sure that those ships didn't get destroyed, and you wanted to make sure that the faction John was supporting, that all his ships got obliterated.
Why is it always me?
Well, you looked like a lost puppy in headlights.
I was, to be fair. I was doing all right, though.
But just like Battlestar, it's got this jump mechanic, so what you can do is you can either stay where you are and try and battle off the invading aliens, or you can activate the jump drive, which costs you resources, which you have to get, which takes you to a new place. You can send dropships down to planets to get resources and do actions. We struggled a little bit with it because we were tired and there was a lot of rules, but at the end of the day, it was a worker placement with this really cool secret faction system. Mm-hmm. And it felt dynamic. It felt like we were fighting. So it was semi-cooperative. You know, if the entire fleet got buggered, well, of course, we would have lost. But there was this really cool element of this worker placement and this objectives.
Yeah, it tied together really, really well. It didn't feel like any of it was bolted on, which is a criminal offence when it comes to Euro games. Everything kind of fed everything else. It all tied together nicely. There was a nice bit of competition for each of the worker spots without feeling too crowded. But there was definitely a long-term, multifaceted strategy, which obviously none of us got during the demo, but you can see it developing when you play the proper game, because you've got to manage the ships, you've got to manage your factions, you've got to manage the ships and the factions, you've got to manage the aliens, you've got to work together to get all of these things so they don't overwhelm you, and all of that whilst your opponents are trying to beat you as well. So there's a lot going on, but it is very lovely.
Yeah, and you can see on the little faction scores, because it's like 6 factions, I think it is, you can see how high up everyone is on those, but that's only the public bits. So the fact that there's the secret faction affiliations as well, you're like, I'm pretty sure Steve is well in with them, but you don't know for sure. Like, there could be something else that he's harbouring. So you've got to keep your eye on all of the ones that they're overtly doing. And you're like, why hasn't he been killing off the Voidfall on that ship? Why is he letting that one fall to the wayside when he's actually got one thing in it? Like, has he got something else going on? So yeah, really intriguing, really intriguing.
Do you know, I've just looked the designer up on Board Game Geek, and the only other published game he's got, Alan Kirkby, is a game called Itchy Monkey. It's about being fleas. Yeah.
I saw that. Was it last year? Probably 2 years ago I saw that. There's monkey on a vine, and you've got to try and get fleas off the monkey. Yes, I remember that.
It just seems like a really big swing between game 1 and game 2.
Yeah. But I'm genuinely stunned that this hasn't been done by Dave Turksey, because obviously he did the original Voidfall, in which the universe in which this is set. So I'm assuming Dave must have had his hand in it at some point.
Give him his proper name, Andy. Big Davey T.
Big Davey T. Yeah.
Maybe he's like a ghost designer. Like, this is like a pen name or something.
Right then, folks. So that's Revenant for winner of the Definitely Not Shit Awards. And I think this draws our UK Games Expo review to a close. I mean, we've done nearly an hour and a half, and we could probably talk for another hour on this. There was so much we saw at Expo that we haven't talked about. Hopefully it'll be teased out over the next few episodes. Also, we did pick up some review copies. And when I say some, I think we could probably bury John under them and you'd never be able to find him ever again. So
please don't.
We've got lots of work to do. Don't forget to check out the show notes for the Tabletop Dominion code, which will give you 10% off. Also, we are sponsored by Kenda still. Go check out them, because we've talked about loads of exciting games, and why don't you go buy one from Kenda?
Definitely.
Good idea.
Do yourself a favour with a PHC discount. Also, check out our Discord server. Our Discord server is doing gangbusters. I'm really impressed by how well it's doing. Go check us out. Again, link there. But we are also on the normal socials at Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, BGG Guild 2726. But until next time, happy gaming.
Ta-ra.
Cheerio.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye.